We're still here at the Arsenal Book Festival, and now I've had a chance to talk with Bohdana Pavlychko. She is the director and owner of the publishing house Osnovy, and they have published this book. This is the Qur'an written in Ukrainian, the very first time it's been translated into the Ukrainian language. So welcome here, Bohdana.
Thank you.
Can you tell me a little bit about why your publishing house decided to take on this project?
Well, Osnovy is a very small but old publishing house. We've existed in Kyiv since 1992, and since the foundation of the publishing house, we always published important books, world classics, and the Qur'an is a gem of literature, and it's not only a holy book, it's a very important literary testament, and it's a gateway into Islamic culture. So 5 years ago, the translator Mikhailo Yakubovich contacted us, and he said that he's working on the translation, and obviously we were very excited to take part in such an important project.
Has there been a demand for this? Had you heard in the past that people are interested in reading the Quran, but there just wasn't the book available?
Definitely. Well, first of all, it's important for all countries, all nations to have important holy books translated into their national language. And actually, it's quite strange that independent Ukraine has existed for 25 years, and we still didn't have a Ukrainian publication of the Quran. So definitely there is a colossal interest, and people, Ukrainians, not only Ukrainian Muslims, but Orthodox Ukrainians, are very interested and excited to be able to begin to grasp the meanings of the Quran.
Now, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk to you about yourself personally. You're the owner of this publishing house. How did you get involved with this in the first place?
Well, I'm very lucky because I have a wonderful job, and it's incredibly fun. I've inherited this publishing house, and I actually come from a long line of people in Ukrainian literature. Both of my grandparents, Pavlo Zahrebelny, who is unfortunately deceased, was a very famous novelist in the Soviet times, and my other grandfather, Dmitro Pavlychko, is a very famous poet and a political figure, and he was actually one of the key people responsible for Ukraine's independence. And he was there in those early days of Ukraine's independence. I don't write myself, but I love working on projects, on book projects, and I'm very happy that this is what I do.
Mm-hmm. How did, if you can say, how did his work influence your work today?
Well, first of all, my grandfather, Dmitro Pavlychko, is a very big patriot of Ukraine, so I grew up in a family that's colossally patriotic. We appreciate everything that's Ukrainian, in Ukrainian language. So I grew up loving Ukraine, loving Ukrainian literature, and I was surrounded by books always. So I had a very fortunate childhood in that sense.
For foreigners, for an international audience that might not be so familiar with Ukrainian literature, what could you recommend to them that would tell them you need to read this book from this Ukrainian author?
Well, unfortunately, not many classical Ukrainian literary works were translated into English, but there are a few very famous contemporary Ukrainian writers like Kurkov. If you are anywhere in the English-speaking world, you can go to any bookstore and pick up a novel by Andrei Kurkov, and he is one of the top selling Ukrainian writers, and one of my favorite writers as well.
One last question for you. Tell me about why this kind of event, the Arsenal Book Festival, is important for Ukraine at this time when its independence is under threat by its neighbor Russia.
Well, first of all, when you're here at the Kyiv Arsenal Book Festival, you have an understanding that Ukraine is European. We're on a path towards democracy, liberalization. We value freedom. We want to develop culture. And we also are our own distinct nation and our own distinct country. So I'm very excited that this is happening, and I want the world to see that we are a modern European country, and definitely we want to break free of, our Soviet past, of our corrupt past, and definitely we are certainly very different from, what's happening in Russia.
Well, Bohdana, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
It's Bohdana Pavlychko, the owner of Osnovy Publishing House, and they've just put together the Qur'an in the Ukrainian language.